Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share with you 5 eyeshadow palettes that I cannot stop thinking about. These are all palettes that came out last year. I decided not to buy them when they came out, and every time I see them, I'm still thinking about them. I'm still considering buying them. So I'd love to get your thoughts about these palettes if you guys have them, and if you guys want to know what palettes I can't stop thinking about, then just keep on watching. Alright, so the first palette on my list is the McGrath Mothership Bronze Seduction palette. It is $125, and that is the only reason that I have not purchased it yet. I want this palette, and I have the Natasha Denona gold palette. I think that was $129. It's the most expensive palette I have. I do love that palette, but it was kind of like I was debating between that one and this one, I think, at the time that they released. And I want this one. I'm looking at it, and I'm just looking at it makes me want to swatch it and play with it. Every time I go into a Sephora, or I'll just even go into a Sephora if I'm at the mall, just to like look at this palette because I really want it, but I don't want to spend $125 on it. I might wait until the VIB sale to get this. And the only other hesitation I have about this palette, aside from the price point, is that I do have one of the McGrath mini palettes, and I'm just not obsessed with it. Like, I like it. I can't really think of anything negative to say about it. I think it's a really great formula, but I don't reach for it or get excited to use it like I do with my Anastasia palettes that are cheaper, or even like some of my Urban Decay palettes. So that's the only other hesitation with this. Like, I don't know if it would be like an impulse buy and I'll be over it quickly. Because I'm sure like I'll buy it, I'll use it for a week and go back to using my like $12 ColourPop palettes. But this is such a beautiful palette, and I think it's just like those iridescent colors that are really, really pretty. It's mostly browns, but there's a couple pops of color in there that I think are really unique. So I'm clearly very passionate about this palette, but I can't even understand why this particular palette just like speaks out to me so much. It's not even like the color scheme. Maybe it is, maybe it's like all my go-to neutrals, but I just want this palette for some reason. Let me know if you guys picked it up. Let me know if you have it and you have some other McGrath palettes, because some of the Sephora reviews do say that this one is the best out of all the McGrath palettes, and the formula is even better. So if you think that's true, I'd love to know, because if I end up getting this, I'm definitely getting it 20% off during the VIB sale. So next up, this is a palette that I always pick up when I go to Sephora, and then I'm like, never mind, let me put it back, because I love so much about this, but I don't love every aspect of this palette that makes me want to like go ahead and purchase it. And it's the Huda Beauty New Nudes eyeshadow palette, and this one is $65. It's the same price as the other Huda Beauty palette. So I especially love all of the shimmers in this palette and all of the glitter shades, and I don't love pressed glitters. I have the Too Faced Pretty Rich, and I do love those pressed glitters, but I'm not necessarily gonna reach for them over some of my other foiled shadows, just because it's an extra step with a glitter glue. It takes like 2 seconds, but still, it's an extra step. But these particular pressed glitters look so gorgeous. And the thing that I don't like so much about this palette is mauves. Like, I don't really like mauves for some reason. Just like those muted, cool tone purples, like they end up just translating as like grayish on my eyes sometimes, and they can sometimes look a little bit muddy. So that's why I'm not obsessed with the entire palette, and it's basically like half of all of the beautiful shadows that I want, and then just enough of those like cool tone purples that makes me not want to go ahead and purchase this. If this had more brown to it, I know it's so basic, but if this had more brown to it, I would have purchased it the day it released. But because it has those like 4 mauve shades, I just didn't end up purchasing it. So let me know if any of you guys feel the same way. I just think it just clashes with my complexion, or I just don't like that look on me. But the shimmers in this palette really stand out to me. Every time I see it like on Instagram, I like think that I want to get it, but then when I go into Sephora and I see like all of those mauve tones, I'm like, maybe not. But let me know if you guys have this palette, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. I don't think I saw like any reviews about this palette. I think it wasn't as hyped up as some other Huda Beauty palettes, so let me know if you guys do have that one. Alright, so next up, I'll probably end up getting this palette during the VIB sale because it's super affordable, very practical palette. It's $25 and it's from Urban Decay. It's their On The Run mini eyeshadow palette, specifically the one that is Detour, which is the blue packaging. I think they're all really cute, and I feel like this launch just like came and went so quickly. Like the Born to Run palette was like super hyped up, and I feel like a lot of people were talking about it, but these just like came out of nowhere, and I saw it on Instagram for like a week or two, and then I haven't heard like a lot about these palettes. But specifically this palette in Detour, I think I really want because the Urban Decay Beach palette from last year, I really wanted that palette, and then I ended up changing my mind about it, but I think I still have that like blue and brown eyeshadow palette craving. And I love those shades. I love brown eyeshadows, and then I also love blue. Like whenever I wear color, it's normally gonna be blue. So this just seems like a very practical palette. It's not like the most exciting palette, but I feel like this would be one of the palettes that I would get a lot of use out of, because all of those are shades that I would wear all the time, and I love that blue shade as well. I feel like these mini palettes are kind of like the new version of the Urban Decay Naked Basics palettes, because I think they stopped making those. I think they just had Naked Basics 1 and 2, and then they had the Petite Heat palette, but this is kind of like the new vibe of that mini naked palette, and I am digging these little palettes, and especially that one. Maybe I'll get another one too. The purple one looks cute, but especially the blue one. It's only $25, so I should totally just get it when I feel the need to have more blue eyeshadow, which will probably be by the VIB sale, so I could get a little bit more of a discount with that one. But let me know if you guys have tried these palettes. I haven't seen a lot of hype around them. I've seen them on Instagram like here and there, but I don't think I've seen like any reviews on these palettes. So yeah, I'd love to know if you guys have tried them, what your thoughts are about the formulas, because Urban Decay has been doing really great formulas lately, but sometimes they have some misses, so I'd love to know if you guys do recommend this one as well. So next up we have the ColourPop Wet palette for $12. So it's something I could definitely just get when I want to get free shipping at ColourPop and just put it into my order for like a new brow pencil or something. But I didn't end up getting this when it first launched, just because I end up buying like some of these colorful palettes, wearing them for a little bit, but they kind of get lost in my collection because I'm not wearing blue eyeshadow or green eyeshadow every day. But this one I really like, especially because the shades of blue and green in here are fairly wearable because they're not super bright and bold, like neon green or something. So I feel like you can totally tone down those colors into like a more wearable or like daytime look. And then of course you could do like a more dramatic like green or blue, smoky eye, or just all over. So that's what I really like about it, that it's a little bit more muted than like a really, really bright green or blue, and just like a pop of color for like a lower lash line or something. So whenever I am interested in colorful palettes, I try to get ones that I can incorporate into more like day-to-day looks. And I think I could do that with this one. I think another reason I didn't purchase it when it released was because this collection, the Wet and Lit collection from ColourPop, really just reminded me of the Sol and Mar collection from ColourPop. Like I felt like it was that same similar vibe. And I do have the Mar palette from ColourPop, and I'm not really wearing that one a ton, so I didn't think I should get another blue palette from ColourPop if I don't wear the one I already have. So that's mostly the reason I didn't purchase it at the time. I buy a lot of ColourPop because they're so affordable, so if I place another ColourPop order in like the next 2 months, I will probably add this one as well. I think it's a super fun palette. Alright, so I wanted to end this video with the palette that I definitely want the most, and I'm actually kind of sad I didn't buy it when it first released and do a review of it when it first released. So I've been pushing getting this palette back, but I'm definitely going to purchase this, and that's the Dose of Colors Katie and Desi Friendcation palette. Every time I see this palette, it looks so gorgeous. I think I would wear every single one of these shades. And really the only reason that I didn't purchase this palette when it first launched was because I had bought the Katie and Desi collab from the year before, and they had that eyeshadow quad, and I ended up decluttering it. It wasn't my favorite. I liked the shades, but it wasn't amazing. And that's my only experience with Dose of Colors eyeshadows. But everybody says this is a really awesome palette, so after the fact, I definitely regretted not getting it when it first launched, but I think I will end up getting this palette eventually. This will probably be the first palette I get on my list because I just can't stop thinking about this palette. I honestly think I'll end up picking up this palette in the next couple weeks. Valentine's Day is coming up, so it could be like a Valentine's Day gift from me to me. I don't think that's like how it works, but how it's gonna work for me for this palette. I think this is the one. Out of everything on my list, I think this is the one that I'm gonna love the most, that I'm gonna use the most. So I'd love to know if you guys already have this palette, how you feel about it, if there's anything you don't like about it. I'd love to know that as well. Alright guys, so that's gonna be everything for today's video. If you're curious about what eyeshadow I'm wearing today, it's the ColourPop Becky G palette. I love that palette. I saw her in concert last night. I'm so happy, so I'm gonna keep wearing the palette like every day. But that's gonna be everything for today's video. If you guys liked it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.